Okay, welcome back to another episode of Mental Health Monday with my friend Miss Unique Jordan. I actually say your whole name every time.
And that's right.
It's really funny. Like, why do you say the title? I was like, you don't say saying the whole thing, Miss Unique Jordan.
That's fine.
Yeah, it's like she's a superhero to me. So
that's sweet. I go by many names.
All right, so introduce yourself. Let people know who you are and what it is that you do.
Yes. So my name is Unique Jordan. Mm-hmm. I'm a licensed professional counselor, LPC, as some folks may see the acronym sometimes.
Yeah.
And I am a private practice owner of A Unique Perspective.
Okay. Tell me about what it's like running your own private practice.
Ooh, Jesus. It's a lot. It's a lot. Unbeknownst to people, I wear a lot of hats.
Yeah.
I'm the therapist. I'm the intake person. I'm the consult person. You know, when you're trying to figure out if you want services or not, you're speaking directly to me, which I feel like should be standard anyways. But I'm responding to inquiries on, Psychology Today. I'm doing all of the things and billing as well. Billing the nice insurance companies that people are utilizing for their services. What else? What else do I do? Oh my Lord. As we talked about, being a content creator.
Tell me about that new chapter in your life.
Well, I feel like I'm true to this kind of ish now. Mm-hmm. Well, Instagram be doing stuff all the time, honey child, baby.
You be killing TikTok too, though.
Two
platforms.
Yes, two platforms.
It is on and off, but you be in there.
I be in
there. You be swinging. Look at her swing. Take my light. Take my garment.
Yes. No, TikTok, I'm still trying to I don't know. TikTok I'll get there at some point. But a lot of people have been encouraging me to explore that. And also Pinterest is a whole new.
Really?
Yes.
I tried Pinterest. I didn't like what it said to me, and I was like, maybe I'm good. Maybe this isn't for me. I was like, maybe it's a language barrier because there's different languages for the platforms.
Yes, that is true. So content creation is a lot as well. A lot of preparation. A lot of thought processes that go in the process of doing so. I'm trying to produce content that's not like, you got to find the right balance for me as a therapist. So a lot of times I have ideas, or I'll see, different TikTok songs or whatever, and I'm like, ooh, I could do something with this. I have an idea, but I'm like, ooh, I don't want to offend anybody, because obviously, my purpose is to destigmatize and also make therapy a safe space. So, I try to not border, because it's real easy to border on the line of like something offensive or something insensitive.
Or box yourself in.
Right? So, I think I try to find a good balance with that. And just always thinking of new ways to get the message out to people in a way that's not as traditional. Yes.
How do you balance the boundaries of who you are versus who you present yourself as?
Yes. I was just having a conversation with someone about that. I think, and I've, shared with you in different interviews that I pride myself on being authentic.
Yeah, and you are. You are very authentic.
Okay.
As someone who knows you in real life
and
sees you on the camera, I see it and I'm like, oh no, that's her.
No, that's Unique.
Yeah.
Right. But it's another balance, right? That's what I guess the name of life is, what I'm saying? So I think with this year though, my intention was to be a little more transparent about just my story, and things that I've gone throughout my lifespan, to just connect with people, because a lot of times people see me as a therapist and it's like, oh, she's overcome this, she's overcome that. And it's like, no, I'm still in this human experience with you.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, I am authentic, but I think I want to take a path where, like I said, there's more transparency to say like, hey, I've been through these things. I know what you're going through, right? And this is how I have worked through those things or overcome those situations.
Yeah.
So that's my intention for this year, is to just rip some Band-Aids off and might make a couple of people upset along the way.
It's bound to happen.
It's bound to happen. Yeah, especially with this new journey that I'm entering with talking about inner child healing.
You have been touching.
Oh, yeah, I said I'm going to touch it and then I'm going to back off.
You have been touching because like, when you did it at first, I was like, oh, is she really about to do it?
Oh, she about to do it. Yeah.
And then when you started doing it, I was like, oh, this bag can go a whole different way.
A whole nother way.
It fits you. It fits you. I feel like since we've met, I've always seen you try to test out different ways of how do I stand for my inner child and how much of that child do I let outside. Yeah. Like, can I stand for my inner child while not being childish?
Okay. Because, you know, and what was so powerful, like my most recent one that I ripped the Band-Aid off, and I'm waiting for some people to see the post, waiting for some phone calls. Okay. But you know, this is something that's one of the niches of mine in terms of my therapeutic style. You know how they always say, find your niche and, you know, reach out to your ideal client. And inner child healing is something that I'm really, really about. And so I found myself recently dealing with a lot of things that have come up that I have thought that I worked through. But as we reach new levels in our lives, some of those things come back. They resurface. Yeah. But you know, as we say, shadow work is never too far behind. And so, like I said, with just a lot of recent emotional things that have been happening in my life, I'm like, yo, this is coming up for me. And I'm sure, again, because I see this all the time with my clients, but I'm sure there's more people. And actually, that one particular post got so many likes and some DMs as well to say like, yeah, I'm struggling with this. So
okay, yeah, let's talk about shadow work. Define that for me.
Okay, so shadow work essentially is synonymous to, like I said, that inner child healing, those things that are behind us that we think, but again impact us in everyday life, right? Yeah. So, you know,
can you give an example?
Oh, so I'll just talk about the post that I made, right? So I spoke about being a child who was emotionally abandoned by two parents.
Yeah. Not just one.
Not just one, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in that post, I just want to be clear that it wasn't about bashing them. It was just, one, honoring my truth, right?
The discovery of.
Yeah. Because, you know, everybody got their spin, and I've been, you know, in conversations with family members and stuff like that. Everybody has their spin on how I grew up and memories that went down, and I'm like, I don't remember that. I know that didn't happen. So anyways, like I said, just being in that space of emotional abandonment caused a number of things for me, right? In terms of self-esteem issues, not valuing myself, wanting to have a connectedness, but not having that reciprocity, you know, from your parents. And that's a huge struggle, because they're our first examples of what relationships look like, what love looks like. They teach us everything.
How we approach the world.
How we see safety, you know, in the world, right? So anyways, like I said, that post wasn't necessarily a bash to them. Like I said, it was honoring my truth, because a lot of times in our families, and I'm waiting for those conversations to come up, like, well, why you put that on social media? But that's our problem. We don't want to talk about those things. You know what I mean? We all know what happened, but we want to continue to move on, like, you know, shit's sweet. But anyway, so like I said, it wasn't about demeaning them, but it was about honoring my truth. But also in my adulthood, I've been having more conversations with my parents and just understanding their history. And I talk a lot about just generational trauma, right? And in my recent discoveries, like talking to my grandmother and how she was communicating how her mother, my great grandmother, didn't have the tools. And, you know, my grandmother recently shared with me, she was like, I don't know how I parented because I didn't know what I was doing. You know,
we find that quite a bit.
Right. That's heavy. So going back to my parents, you know, just having more compassion for them to be like, dang, you know, you was like 22, 23 with one kid or 4 children. And, you know, we think back to when we were that age, like, what was we really doing? What did we really know?
For us, we were cooling. We got to go to college. We got to.
Yes, right. So, but anywho's, just the whole inner child healing piece has just been, man, it's been heavy for me. And so recently and this is always a goal of mine, but I've been more intentional about seeking therapy because I'm like, the healer needs some healing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So how do you pour into yourself? Are there people around you who pour into you?
Yes. You know, I am grateful to have so many friends from different walks of life, and I know that that's not everybody's experience to have that support, but I have childhood church friends. I have women that I've met in my 20s, at least like 8 or 9 of them, you know, family, all types of folks, old colleagues, and you know what I mean, so many people that pour into me at different stages, different moments, whether it's a, hey UJ, I see you out here doing your thing, I love to see it, you know, or having those conversations, you know, more in depth, checking in on me. So yeah, that's so interesting, you know, where I felt like I lacked so much love from my parents, I received it in abundance outside of that space. So like I said, I'm grateful.
Would you say you built that for yourself?
Yeah, you know, I would say both, you know what I mean? I've been a recipient and also a participant in you know, building and maintaining these relationships.
Tell me
yeah, because you know, everybody got a role in a relationship, you know what I mean? So like I said, there may have been times where I may not have been the best friend on the planet. Like I referenced my group of friends from my 20s, they'll tell me things now that I said like in the beginnings of our relationship, and I'm like, I said that? Just wild stuff. Just wildness.
And that discovery is a lot.
Yes. Yeah, and I'm like, dang, homie, you still cool with me? Okay.
You still chose me.
You still chose me.
Okay.
So that's what I said. You know, I'm a recipient of, you know, unconditional love, but also being able to recognize like where my flaws are, where I need to pour into somebody else. So it's, you know, a two-way street essentially. So like I said, my participation, their participation maintains that relationship.
Okay. How significant is self-correction?
Oh yeah. Accountability. You know, because we're not perfect beings.
And we all define accountability differently.
Oh yes. Yeah. Yes we do.
Yeah.
Yes we do. Like, I'm sorry, a whole bunch of thoughts are just going through my head, but you know, we all do define accountability different. And like I said, using that reference of friends sharing with me like, yeah girl, you said this wild, you said that wild, and you know, accountability or self-correction for me is like, you know, my bad homie, you know what I mean? Like I thought, and I made a post about this one time too, I've always prided myself in being I prided myself in, it was my personality to just say what was on my mind. But as I've grown as a woman, you know, just learning that I don't have to say everything that's on my mind. And sometimes it's unwarranted for me to say everything that's on my mind. Just because I have the capacity doesn't mean that I need to flex that muscle. You know what I mean? So I think that honestly, being the most expressive person that I am, that's been the biggest lesson for me, to just kind of like know when to hold them and when to fold them in terms of, you know, sharing my feelings or my thoughts on a situation. Because, you know, again, we talk about this, like sometimes people just want to be heard and they don't want your 2 cents. And I was always like, well, you gonna hear this, but it wasn't always appropriate. So self-correction, going back to the original question, self-correction is important. It's important for you to apologize for those things. I think it also matures you in a way as well, because it's like, if I'm not recognizing any errors of mine, and we're making errors all the time, I feel as though it keeps us in a stagnant place. We're always supposed to be growing. So there are going to be some things that I need to self-correct, right? So, yeah, honey. It's a journey. It's a journey. Because we don't always get it right.
Yeah, we're not supposed to get it right.
Right.
And I think that's okay.
And you may have, and that's the part too I'm thinking, like, you may have like the best intentions, and that's the part too that I think is human beings, we can be more better at in stating our intentions, and if they're unclear, if we're again on the recipient end, asking the person what their intentions are, because sometimes we misinterpret so much. Language and thought processes too, because we personalize.
We do. Would you say for the healing experience, it's important to acknowledge that along the journey, you don't need the other party to be involved in your discovery or your healing?
Oh no, honey. Because like I said, even when it comes to this inner child work that I'm doing, like I said, I know I'm gonna get the calls. Like, why
they're coming.
They coming. They gonna come. Why you say this? Why you say that? Or I'm not gonna talk to you because of what you said. And
has it been that way for you in this experience so far?
This is just the beginning.
Okay. So right now you just at the shore looking at the water.
Yeah, this is only the beginning, because there is so much to explore, and it's just so crazy how I think maybe I've shared this with you before. I used to journal a lot.
I remember we talked about that.
Yes.
At our first sit down.
Okay.
Which to me, I still have the footage from that.
Oh yeah.
And I think about putting that out. I'm like, I'll do something special for my YouTube.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I need folks to see that, like, before I do these sit downs with people I care about, who I actually know, there's a lot of background work that we do in terms of conversations and who the people are.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
Yeah.
So even, like I said, when it comes to my journaling, and I've been saying to myself, and probably when I start this therapy process, is going back into those entries. But when I say I journal from like 4th grade all the way up until I had my kid at 30. So there's I got a bunch of receipts, okay, of things that have happened to me. And like I said, so interesting, our brain does funky things to suppress these memories, and like I said, it wasn't until recent when all of the stuff just started like hitting, like, dang girl, like you went through a whole bunch of stuff.
The brain's working overtime.
The brain is said, okay, now we trying to get to the end goal. We don't need to talk about this, we don't need to think about that, just keep pushing to the side. But this whole time I've been thinking that again, I've work through those things because of where I am now, but it's still okay to hold space for those hurtful and or whatever moment that it was. But yeah, so when it comes to other people, a part of my healing, like I said, there's gonna be folks that's like, no, that's not true, such and such, and it's not about you, this is about me. So I don't need your participation in terms of support is cool, amazing, thank you. But it's not a prerequisite in terms of me getting the healing that I need.
Yeah. What would you say the value is in coming from Chicago?
Oh, Chicago. Oh, my city. Chi-town girl. Chicago. Oh man. It's interesting because I had like I had so many experiences. I was fortunate enough to be primarily raised by my grandmother, who, again, like I said, she made it, you know what I mean? She really, really set the tone for us, because we're from the projects in real life. So, you know what I mean? Like, we got that history, but my grandmother really, really set the tone for us to be like, you can do it different. So she became the social worker. She went back to school in her 30s.
Which was not easy at that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you know, she really, really applied herself. So I was able to be raised in a neighborhood that was middle class. Okay. But I still had the, you know, my mother's influence as well. You know, my mom is from the west side of Chicago. Yeah. So I grew up on the south side, but my mom, you know, she a little hood. So, you know, I spent a good chunk of my life spent with my grandmother, but then I was also raised by my mom, you know, so she at some point uprooted us from that middle class area, you know what I mean? And we navigated different parts of the hood. Yeah. So, you know, I was able to, and what was interesting though, I was still able to have a home base with my high school that remains in that middle class area. So, you know, I would go to this middle class community, but then go back home to the hood. So it's like I basically had the best of both worlds. And so I joke with most folks and call myself Hollywood because I mean essentially, you know, I understood, well, let me say this, the middle class experience gave me some hope, right, in terms of like, wow, I'm seeing all these people move and shake in this way and wearing all these name brand clothes, and I didn't have those name brand clothes, okay? Listen, but you know, it gave me, like I said, that glimpse, that exposure to something different. But then, you know, going back home to the hood, it was like, okay, I understand the grind. I understand, you know, the survival mode. I understand, you know what I mean? Like, you just doing what you got to do to get by. And it's necessary. And it's necessary, right? Because it was just so interesting to me how, okay, so my high school was like, all you had to do was take one bus to get to downtown Chicago, which is beautiful. Have you been to Chicago before?
Twice.
Okay.
I have family out there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, you know, downtown. Amazing. Beautiful, right? So all I had to do was take one bus from my high school. It was like 15 minutes to get to downtown. But what's so interesting enough is that this one bus, which was called the number 6, it would take you from downtown, but then would also travel all the way back to the south. Oh, okay. So it was a one-stop shop. Right? But what was crazy was that people who was like in the inner south, some of them never had been to downtown Chicago. And it's like, all you gotta do is catch, you know, 1 or 2 buses. I mean, I would say Chicago's transit authority is, they cover, you know, a lot of areas.
And you guys are clean. You guys keep them streets clean on that side. The presentable side that they're trying to present.
Right.
Yeah.
The north side. But anyways, but yeah, it was just so interesting how, like, again, so many people didn't have that exposure, and I'm like, all you gotta do is just get on a bus. But again, the, you know, people from the hood was like, this all we know. That door was never open. It was never open. But again, they didn't have examples of people being like, hey, I go downtown all the time. Like, come with me. That world was just so like non-existent to them.
Also, there's probably a history of we get in trouble for being
there. You know, Chicago, you know, as most of us know, is a very segregated city.
Still to this day.
Yeah. Very segregated. You know, the white folks was on the north side, black folk went on the south, west side, but, you know, we all knew. And then we had, you know, Italian communities and Polish communities and Hispanic communities, but everybody was in their little pocket. It knew, or the understanding was like, you stay where you at. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, Chicago, I'm trying to stay on topic to your, question.
Nah, we're here to chat. If you ever want to do a deep dive, I'm like, nah, that's fine.
Listen.
This time can be used however you see fit.
Yeah, but Chicago just really, really taught me work ethic, honestly. And like I said, the fact that I had that taste and that exposure to something greater just really, really pushed me to be like, I gotta get the fuck up out of here. You know what I mean? I want to know what else is there beyond that. But like I said, I understand that everybody didn't have that privilege. And And it's just so interesting how we talk about privilege within our community, right? Still, yeah. Across. And it's unfortunate that there are these, tiers and levels to privilege even within our community, because in the grand scheme of things, there's still that huge, disparity. But yes, so Chicago, y'all always be a Chi-Town girl. I still got my phone number from Chicago, okay?
Same Jersey.
Listen.
Jersey, like, what's this 973? Oh, no, it's Jersey.
Right, this is Chi-Town. Can't take it from me, But yes, I love my city so much. we some interesting folk.
Very honest.
Very honest. Yeah. But I feel like we're good people, but you don't wanna cross us.
I got you. Okay, so let's talk about getting the fuck up out of there.
Yes.
So prior to you starting your private practice, at the height of the pandemic, you noticed a lot of things.
Yes.
That made your transition very easy and sweet. Not as bitter as people would think. So tell me about that experience.
Okay, we talking about work. We going back there?
It's on you.
Okay, because that was the height of the panini.
Yeah. And it was the height of you guys as a community should have been supporting folks on your side.
Yes.
Yeah. And you found the value. Or, correction, you created the value.
I created the value.
Yeah.
That's right. Man. I think probably I talked to you the most about that experience. As I've shared before, I had been working for a local government, Northern Fairfax, Virginia, trying to, be the best counselor that I could be, So as I've shared before, I guess that's a Chicagoan in me. I'm a hustler. So, at any given time, I could have like 59, 11 jobs, all at once. Always trying to, get the shmoney.
Yeah.
But anywho, so I was working for a crisis center in Fairfax, Virginia. Yeah. I had been there for at least, almost 3 years. I had been working there. Yeah. Yeah, I had a little years. And as I shared with you before, I was always a neutral party at my job. I feel like in most spaces, I'm just like, hey, I'm here to do what you tell me to do. I keep my head down, but I do what I gotta do, and I'm gonna head out.
I mean, being black, we're taught to keep our head down in certain spaces too.
Okay.
So there's not really a lie there.
Yes.
Even the best of us.
Yes, even the best of us. Even the best of us. But yeah, I think the head down piece was more so because I was doing other tasks for my other jobs while at work. Working whilst at work. So I have time to really get into whatever. You know how it's always drama at work. That just never.
There's always
something. But anywho, so as I shared with you before, working at this space, it was 12.5 hours. Okay, so that's a lot of time.
Yeah, that's way outside the 40.
That's a lot of time. Well, we only worked 3 days. Yeah. So that was the perk of it. Okay, so we worked 3 days. Was it 3 days or 4 days? Child, you do the math. But we didn't work the typical 5 days a week, probably 3. I think it was 3. So we would either work 7 a to 7:30 p. Or 7 p to 7:30 a.m. Yeah. So much. Especially those overnight shifts. Oh my gosh, when you're freaking losing your mind and you're delirious.
As they're coming in losing their mind.
Yeah, right. But most times at night, people were sleeping. I mean, we had to deal with little things here and there in terms of like managing our clients, but most time they would sleep. So what I'm saying is that you spend a lot of time with your colleagues, okay? And in those delirium hours, you just saying all types of just wild stuff. So anyways, we had that culture about us where we would just talk about anything, everything, whatever. Given that we spend so much time together. So,
by design.
By design.
Yeah.
But anywho, so we had so many killings. Just 2020. This is 2020. So it was back to back to back to back to back. And I'm coming to work, and we would have kind of like mini staffings each shift, right? So we would talk about just regular administrative stuff. We'll talk about clients in terms of like treatment and treatment plans and stuff like that. But I think I still have video footage of just like my angst during that time. But one morning I just said, oh, so no one's talking about this now. I think even prior to that day, I was asking my other colleagues, black colleagues, like, have they brought this up? Yeah. Has it been talked about? No? Oh, okay. Cool. Yes. So I came in one morning. I let the, agenda roll out as it did, as usual, in our meetings. And I said, and I'm a very expressive person in my face, and I said, we gonna start this. I find it interesting that no one has spoken about these things. And so it was quiet then. But what's so funny? I think the director, she knew when I came in that morning, just probably like my demeanor, she knew.
She saw the chip on your
shoulder. She was like, oh, something's up with her, but she ain't really know. So this is, a white. Because most of our supervisors, as in most spaces, if not many spaces, are white, in terms of upper management. So basically, I just set it off. And I said, this is very negligent. This does not show any cultural competency, as you guys, pride yourself on in this discipline. Again, these are all licensed, degreed professionals. It's not like, I'm yelling at the chef for not bringing up these kinds of things. It's like, no, you guys are master level people.
Yeah,
okay.
You have to code switch in the presentation. It's a presentation even in the hottest hours.
Oh, well, nah, it wasn't code switching that day. Shit, we set it off today. Yeah. So, from there, it just, sparked an interest from my upper management to basically do some damage control, right? So it's like, okay, well, let's start a support group. Can you spearhead this support group? Oh yeah, honey.
The damage is there to be controlled.
The fact that they hadn't said anything, right? So they're like, okay, well, what do you guys need? You know what I mean, as black clinicians, and it wasn't necessarily it was about me being a black clinician, and that you guys were not tapped into who you don't see me. You know what I mean? Like when you see these killings, you do not see me, and they are me. You know what I mean? So it wasn't just about us as black clinicians that wasn't receiving the support. I was like, but how do you treat the clients that are black and come into these spaces? And it was just such an interesting time because the clients would, commingle together. They would watch TV and all of the news coverage about George Floyd. And then they would get remarks from other like white clients. Oh, I can't breathe. It was a lot of nastiness. So again, if you're not addressing this on a professional to professional level, how are you going to then address it on the floor?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now let's slow this down.
Child, listen.
Let's talk about the importance of acknowledgement and all its layers. So when us as black folks say there needs to be acknowledgement on something, let's walk through that process of what we actually expect versus what we're actually given. Take your time. I feel like you'd be great for that because this is the work that you do when it comes to boundaries.
Of the lace. I'll speak for myself because I feel like each black clinician may have wanted something different.
And that's important to acknowledge.
Yes. So, and that's the part too. in this whirlwind of things, and not to say that my Black clinicians weren't advocating for themselves prior to, the Ahmads and the Georges, and, there were a lot of microaggressive shit already happening. So I feel as though this kind of like really set it the fuck off, right?
Example of microaggressive stuff. One or two examples.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
So as a clinician, we do progress notes. Okay, so we chart, or we pretty much write up a little note about how the client's day was, progress that they made, needs. So let's say a Black clinician may have missed their progress note for the day. Okay.
Yeah.
You'll get a white supervisor calling them on their off day to say, hey, hey, I see you didn't put that note in for such and such. Can you come in and put it in? Okay. Now let me put this part out. So there are entities in terms of like responsibilities that we have in terms of reporting to insurance, making sure that charts are up to date. Okay, so we do have that responsibility just off GP, general principle. But okay, yeah. So I want you to come off on your off day to do this note that you didn't do. Okay? Whereas we know a couple of white colleagues who don't do their notes, who come in on their next shift maybe a week later. Unbothered.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unbothered.
Yeah.
So that's one. Oof. It's been so many, I'm just thinking of different phone calls that's just kind of all rushing to me. Different phone calls of just hearing my, Black colleagues so upset. Like, when I complain about this, I need to have all my proof lined up. But let, my white colleagues say something and their word is bond. Yeah. But I gotta like have a witness. I gotta,
you gotta have a whole case.
I gotta have a whole case.
Yeah.
Oh, geez Louise. So, yes. So like I said, it was already that kind of culture already in the mix.
And this goes back to we have to be 2 times better than
yes. We always gotta, be on point.
Yeah, even to prove ordinary things.
Even to prove just simple, basic stuff. Yeah. Oh man. So that, like I said, that was happening. But when I say what I needed in terms of acknowledgement, which may have been different from my other colleagues, like I said, due to just their previous, run-ins with upper management.
Yes.
Because that's the thing too. Like, I ain't really had no beef for real, because I ain't fool with y'all like that. You know what I'm saying? So shit probably went over my head a lot because I was just not wrapped up in it. But anyway, so acknowledgement for me was, can we say, hey, we know that this is happening? Can we start the conversations, because the culture is happening here too, in terms of, again, there being privileges and microaggressions and all of that stuff. It's happening in our home base.
Yeah, and we're literally a part of history.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
Our president is someone else's history.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
And you're still playing into past and present things that's keeping our grievances alive, essentially. So for me, like I said, I just wanted you to say, 1, we know this is happening. 2, do you need a space to talk about it? You know what I mean? Like
real conversations,
because again, there were so many, and I had a moment too at work, where, we're on the brink of tears. We're questioning our own safety as Black people, you know what I'm saying? And again, just
nothing for us.
Nothing for us.
Yeah.
So they said, okay, Unique, why don't you, spearhead, we'll collaborate with you and spearhead this support group for Black clinicians.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
Is it hard when you ask for acknowledgement and it gets turned into
to an assignment?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, but let me tell you, okay? Sure, it began to no longer, and I would say this, I can't say collectively as Black clinicians. After a while, we said, "Fuck this support group," because it's not keeping the integrity of why it was originally established.
And as a therapist, you understand when the integrity is there and when it's like, oh no, it's not. This is just an assignment to everybody here.
Right, to check off the box to say, oh yeah, look at what we're doing.
Liabilities.
Right, yeah, like look at this, great collaboration we got going on. We're really, really addressing the needs of our clinicians and our clients. But when the tables, and that was the part too, it started as a support group of us, just being able to vocalize how we were feeling. But then when it got to the point of like, hey, we want to hold you guys accountable for things that you have done and or are doing present, it became a nuisance. Oh, well, we're going to take more control over this group, and we're going to bring in a third party. I think that's how it essentially dissolved. We're going to bring in a third party because basically it's too hot for us. We're in a hot seat now, and we don't want to take any accountability. So we'll bring in a third party. And I think essentially, because after a while, that's it. I said, child, please, get me out of here. No, this is not my duty, not my assignment to research movies and shit for us to talk about in these,
That's what they were expecting of you?
Oh, well, it got passed off to some other people too. Like, okay, maybe, this Black clinician can present on this. And
it was all Black people.
It was all Black people.
The work.
Doing the work.
Yeah.
So after a while, I was like, y'all had it.
It became watered down.
Right.
Yeah. They were like, we'll give you homework to distract you guys.
Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll go watch Hidden Figures, and we'll come together and talk about it. So let me say this though. So it went from the Black clinicians support group, and then because we said, hey, no, this needs to be opened up to all of the clinicians here.
This needs to be more honest.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when it came into the group, the larger group, or I guess collectively, as a department or unit, I wouldn't say department, but just like the whole crew, you know what I mean? White, Black, Hispanic, all the people. That's when let's watch Hidden Figures and come together and talk about something. So I was checked out at that point, to be honest with you. There were other little shits, but at that point, I think I probably had started my private practice. So, okay, right, sorry.
No, you're fine. That's what honesty is supposed to be, because it's your story.
Yes.
So like for example, I had a moment a week ago. Bubba Wallace, they had like a documentary about what he went through as a race car driver, right, during the pandemic, and he was talking about how these deaths have affected him. And for me, that was fascinating because I didn't think about what being a Black star in a predominantly white sport and industry was like for him growing up. And then there was this one moment that they had used sound and footage from the protest, and I was triggered.
Ooh.
I had to stop the documentary because remember, I was in it in 2020, and there's a separation that I acknowledge of. I was in it, and after I left.
Right.
Even the group that I work with, one of the pieces of advice I gave them was, the moment you guys miss a weekend, you will lose your crowd and they will never come back to the stuff you're doing. They're like, what do you mean? I was like, protesting is an emotion and a verb.
Right.
There's no vacations.
Right.
And whatever you need to demand, you need to do it now, because if you don't have a list of demands and what your community needs, that's it. I was like, just understand, people are going to see you guys stop and see the other groups continue going, and they're going to say, oh, you guys were just visiting. And if you guys don't pick back up that torch or that same energy after, I was like, just hang it up.
Yeah, and essentially, to your point, The Black Clinician Support Group meeting became, it was started as kind of like a weekly thing, and then it was like, oh, well, let's make this a bi-weekly thing.
Because it's getting in the way of work.
And let's make this a monthly thing. And so it lost its lost its sentiment. Yeah, but like I said, there's tons that, like I said, I've yet to process, because it's like when I left that space. As
you should.
Yeah, I was like,
and you do have to give yourself permission to leave that space.
Oh yeah.
So let's talk about the value of permission.
Yes. So, private practice was always something kind of like in the back of my head, even before 2020. I just didn't
have the words.
No, I didn't have the words. I just didn't pursue it. Basically, you know what I mean? I was caught up in other jobs and stuff like that.
I mean, you were working while working.
Oh, I was working whilst working. So basically, yeah, in 2020, I said, bet, fuck y'all.
Deservedly so.
Fuck y'all.
Yeah.
And so I hit the ground running, and I told one of my good colleagues who I shared an office with, and she had done private practice before, but I said to her, I said, sis, I'm about to start my private practice. If you with it, cool, but I'm doing it with or without you, homegirl. And gratefully, she jumped on the ticket with me. But yeah, so I did all of the necessary work, which was a lot, trying to start up.
I did all the things.
And even when I thought I was ready to start, I really wasn't ready to start, because I thought I was paneled with some insurances, and I really wasn't. So it was
Can
just...
you walk me through that?
Oh,
what was that experience of, oh, damn, I don't have the right folks in my corner business-wise? Because you're a business. So you're a therapist, a content creator, and a business.
So you mean in terms of insurance? Okay, so...
Because you guys run through insurance for everything.
Well, here's the thing, though. So some therapists can elect out of accepting insurance. So it was a choice of mine, and this is, no shade to people who don't fool with insurance, because insurance is a whole nother wild business. But it was a choice of mine, because I'm like, how can people that look like me, afford therapy? Because a therapy session can range from, it can run you like $125. I've seen up to $200. Okay. Yeah, it's real. So it was my intention, because I'm like, I wanted to be at the heart of it all. And it's like, what does my client look like? What are they going through? How can I meet them essentially where they're at? So insurance was a big deal for me. But that process, I didn't have no blueprint. And each insurance is different in terms of, signing you on or credentialing you. So it's not like
it's not immediate.
No, it's not like, step 1, step 2, although they put it like that, but there's a waiting period. I would say for me to be paneled and or credentialed, so that means that I've done all the necessary paperwork, they've checked, cross-referenced me and all that stuff, basically verified me as a clinician.
Check.
The blue check, yes. The blue check of insurances. That took like 3 to 6 months, depending on the insurance provider.
Can that cripple your business as someone that's running your own business?
It could, essentially, because, people are reaching, and that was the part too, right? So I thought I was ready to start, and people were reaching out to me, but then when I found out that I wasn't, I didn't have my blue check, it was like, well, since I can't afford you, you know what I mean? So gratefully, I was able to, gratefully able to get it all together. But it could hinder, I don't want to say cripple, but it could hinder a business. So yeah, that was a whole little process. I forgot what you said.
I saw you searching. I was like, should I step in? Is this me?
Yes, this is you.
Me, Jesus?
Yes, this is your turn. Because I'm like, I forgot what the question was.
Alright, so the business and running your own private practice, wearing so many hats, how do you delegate? Or do you delegate?
Who am I delegating to?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Shoot.
Right.
I was gonna say, I'll give you my resume. Let me know.
Okay,
Shoot.
you said holla at a player.
Yeah, I'm always working Jamaican at all times. That doesn't stop. So just
right.
let me know. Yeah.
Yes. Delegation. That right. Bloop. That's not in existence now. However, this year I said, okay, you want to build as a business owner and a brand. Yeah. So, as I was sharing with you, I'm currently in a mentorship of building my group practice. Yeah. And so, the idea is to bring on more Black clinicians. This is going to be all brown, beautiful people. Just continuing the mission of creating safe spaces for Black folks. So basically, me times 3.
Yes.
But not necessarily, me per se, but just like, again, the heartbeat of a unique perspective.
Which is your business.
Which is my business.
Yes. Shout out to the business. We always
Shout out to the business. AUP. I'm so proud of just this. I'm coming up on my 2nd year of being in business.
Successful year. Second successful year.
Yes, second successful year. And I just want to expand that. With that will come delegation, hiring a biller to do the things, and just, pretty much having a crew, so that I'm not wearing all these hats. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the goal. 2022.
Okay. Tell me about UJ. You mentioned that in the interview. You never heard that. And I was like, oh, that's special. That's a childhood name.
Yes.
Tell me about UJ.
UJ. Oh, man. And you know what's so interesting? And that's so funny. I have a client who lives in Virginia, who's from Chicago. And UJ again is a sentiment childhood name I got from my church family. Okay. So it's a funny story behind that.
Church was big in your life?
Church was big in my life. My grandmother was a Sunday school teacher.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah, honey.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got you.
Now, right.
Yeah.
Make it make sense. Yeah. The math is starting to math. Yeah. But no, she was a Sunday school teacher. So, and I would say that honestly, that was the greatest gift. And I always say this, the greatest gift that she ever gave me was introducing me to God. Okay. I would say that, because that has been he has been a huge staple. So when we talk about unique, how you able to do this, how you able to do that, this is God. This ain't me, child, because I should have been on the stretcher in the hospital for dehydration a long time ago, okay? Because it's a lot. But okay, this is funny. So at one point I lived in Mississippi, okay? Oh boy, Mississippi. Clarksdale, Mississippi. It's a small little town, but a lot of us have relatives in Mississippi. So in the 2nd grade I moved to Mississippi. My mother was this child, I was about to, no shade to my mama, but I think this was her first marriage. Yes.
There's nothing wrong with one marriage. Well, now there's nothing wrong with one. Right,
exactly. But no, this is her first marriage, and we relocated to Mississippi where the guy was from, where he was living. And there was like this talent show. Basically, in school, we had some form of talent show, and everybody in this little set that I did, it was like some gym aerobics dance I don't know what the fuck that shit was. But we had shirts made. I really don't know what it was. But we had these shirts made and with our initials on the back.
Yeah.
So I had UJ on the back of mine. So I kept this shirt. I'm like a baby.
Adorable.
I'm a baby hoarder, low key.
Yeah, that's adorable.
Like I hold on to stuff.
Yeah.
So I had this shirt. Oh my God. But I've always been petite. So although I'm telling the story, I had this shirt from like 2nd, 3rd grade until, shoot, I had that shirt for years. Okay. So one day, because I was just so tiny. I just never grew for real. So one day I wore this shirt to church. Okay. But I wasn't trying to let people see the back of the shirt because it was like a V-cut, white little joint. But I think at some point I had like took my sweater off. Okay. So I had on like this, skirt. The back of the shirt didn't match the whole outfit. Okay. So, cause
it was different.
It was different because the UJ was in red, and I think I had like on a blue skirt. It was whatever. It wasn't matching. But when I took the sweater off, one of my friends was like, "Oh," like it. He saw the initials. He's like, "Oh, UJ." So it was started off as a joke, like, "Why you got this? Why you got this on that church, girl?" Yeah. But then it grew into what people at church called me. So anyways, fast forward to recent years, or just my private practice. I was telling you, so I have a client that's from Chicago. Actually, I have 2 clients that's from Chicago. That's interesting. And out of the blue, he just called me UJ. And yeah, so that's he still calls me UJ. And I didn't correct him because, in my therapy sessions and just me as a clinician, and I tell folks all the time, like, do not put me on any pedestals, shawty, okay? Yeah. I'm in this human experience with you. I could be on that mess just like you was on that mess tomorrow. Yeah. I might need you to bail me out of jail a couple of months from now. So, I'm not remiss from life. So I don't like to, be put on this pedestal like, oh. And some people call me doctor. I don't even have my doctorate. So I'll be like, okay.
Just predicting the future. That's all.
Maybe.
I mean, if you want access to it, they're already speaking on it. That's all.
Listen, once I get on my little Oprah level and get my honorary doctorate somewhere, cool. But y'all ain't gonna catch me back in school now. So yes, UJ. Who is UJ? UJ is again that young girl from the South Side, curious, into her friends. Curious about her friends and the families and the lives that they live. UJ is your home girl, right? Sweet, sassy, and like I said, inquisitive. So yes, UJ is a very sentimental name. Like only a small group of people call me that. Yes. Only church people call me UJ.
Yeah.
But I got a whole bunch of names, okay? Mm-hmm. I got Unique, I got Uniqua, I have Uniqueness. You know how
I do.
You know how I go. Like when Facebook first came out, I put my name on Facebook as Uniqueness. Mm-hmm. And you know how sometimes like people who know you sometimes like adopt your Facebook or Instagram name as your name. So some people do call me Uniqueness, and I'm like, but you know my real name though, right? Like we know each other, but
we know each other. Know what it is.
But whatever, and I transferred that into my Instagram profile as well. So like when you said earlier, like about the transparency and authenticity of pouring unique into a unique perspective Instagram content creator, I was just telling one of my clients, like, listen, I do have a private page, okay, in these streets, because I want to be ratchet sometimes. So uniqueness is don't be trying to find me in these streets, but uniqueness is my other Instagram page. So, but I, keep some boundaries.
Mm-hmm. Church and state.
Church and state, yeah. Because I want to turn up out.
Yeah.
But,
you should be able to.
I deserve it.
You just put together a collective of storyboards.
Did I?
Yeah. Yeah, the whole run. It was great. I didn't get to be there because I was busy that day, but it was great.
What you talking about? What did I do?
The event that you put together.
The vision board?
People putting together.
Oh, yes. Okay, we say storyboards.
Storyboards, yeah, my bad. Vision boards.
Vision boards. Ooh.
Yeah.
Sorry, my contact. Mm-hmm.
Why vision boards? What are you looking to bring to life?
Vision boards. You know, I feel as though all of us, despite our stories, despite our backgrounds, we have desires. Desires that sometimes we're not comfortable with sharing, desires that we're afraid to come to life, just these inner, wants and needs, right? And so for the vision board party, I wanted people to put that out, right? To see it on paper. Some people did digital vision boards, just being creative in different platforms. But I wanted people to see it. You know what I mean? One, to acknowledge that I want these things. You know what I'm saying? And to actually see it. And with the vision board party, and I created a workbook in conjunction with it. But, how can we actualize the things that you want? Because it is attainable. And so even in my practice, I'm like, yes, you can be that person that you always wanted to be, right? So despite the fear of failure, despite the imposter syndrome, despite, rejection that you've received, like, go after those stuff, after those things, because again, you deserve it. So with the vision board party, again, this was my first one. I wanted it to be in person, but listen,
the pandemic.
Amarion was he was outside.
Yes,
okay,
outside.
Right. He's still outside, but it was surging at that point, and so it became a virtual event. But it was small, and even I'm just having a transparency moment. It was small, and as I was going through the process of getting ticket sales and advertising for it, there was a part of me that was like discouraged. I was like, I know that this is like a dope thing to do, you know what I mean? And like I said, although the participants didn't know they knew about the workbook, but they didn't see the workbook. But I just knew that there was just like so much with this event that is amazing. But I'm like, yo, only like 10 people have bought a ticket, and most of these people are like my friends, So there was a moment where I had to say, Unique, and I shared this with you, I had to say, Unique is not about like the quantity, it's about the impact that you're gonna have, right? And so I had to have a little moment with myself, because I was like, when nobody want to come to this.
Those moments are important.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
And so when you talk about that photo shoot I did at the Black Hair Experience, the post was about trusting your dopeness.
Yeah.
And like I said, I went to the Black Hair Experience after the event to kind of, celebrate. And plus I had family and friends in town. Mm-hmm. But that whole event was amazing. And what's interesting enough is that actually a couple of my clients came to this vision board party, and I didn't advertise it so much to my clients, and I told them, I was like, because I'm gonna be talking about a lot of things that we talk about in session, so I don't want you to pay a ticket and then come to it and be like, girl, I got this I paid this for what we talk about a lot. So, but the blessings came, like I said, at least I want to say 4 or 5 of my clients came and said that they got something from it. And so essentially, from the vision board party, we're building a community, right? Because I was like, I don't want this to be like a one-stop shop, because throughout the year there are so many things that get in our way. And although I've outlined that in the workbook and provided folks with tools on how to overcome that stuff, but we still need conversations. So I'm actually circling back around to the people to say, okay, we had our vision board party, hip hip hooray, but let's do a check-in, right? Mm-hmm. And is there a topic that you guys want me to cover that you're struggling with right now at the beginning of the second quarter? Yeah. So quarterly, I want us to come together to be like, all right, let's check in with one another, right? Is there additional support that you need? Because again, we start off so strong, and or not in the beginning of the year. Like some people pick up wind, as you know, we've been talking about in the springtime, coming out of seasonal depression. So it's like, okay, now you outside, you know what I mean? So it's just so many different, you know, things that happen to us and to our goals throughout the year. So I just want to, like I said, continue to have the conversation. So my hope is like in the next month or so, we can come back together and keep the good times.
Yes. Did you know writing things down raises your chances of accomplishing that thing by 75%?
Oh, yeah. I'm a believer of it. Like, I love me a good planner, and I tell all my clients, like, get you a planner, please. Not only does it, you know, seeing it raises the awareness, but a lot of times we don't give ourselves acknowledgement for the things that we're doing. So, you know, I tell my clients like, hey, write down a little to-do list in this planner. You know, write down things that you need to get accomplished for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, blah, 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 blah. But I also want you to go back at the end of the week and see like, what have I done? Because a lot of times we're like, oh, I didn't do shit this week. You know what I mean? What I've been doing? Nothing. But again, that writing it down and checking it off lets brain know, let yourself know that I did something. We doing this, right? Not that I'm trying, I'm doing. So, oh yeah, there's so much weight in writing things down. Because we got so much going on. You know, I could be thinking about in this interview with you, and 5911 other thoughts are swirling in my brain in terms of what I have to do. So it's a lot of distractions going on, but writing it down and coming back to it.
Yes, very important.
It's very important.
Yeah. Now, I have 2 more questions for you before we wrap this.
Oh, okay.
Because we're at your time right
now. Ah, okay, really?
But you did a great job. So I'm just like, hey, this is great. Okay. You are talented in both individual sessions as a therapist and group sessions. Why do both? I think that let me talk about the healing in both. Okay. So the healing in individual session is that, again, you have that personalized, tailored made, you know, type of session to talk about those, you know, dark corners that you don't want people to know about. And what's so interesting is I've had so many clients say, like, I'm telling you stuff that my friends don't even know. Or I'm telling you things that I haven't told, like, you know, my closest relative. So it gives you that personalized, private, tailored space to do your healing, right? But there's so much power in group healing, and a lot of folks be like, I don't know them, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be telling my business to not just, well, you know, if they're initially just introduced to me, one, me being a stranger, and then these other however many strangers that you have. But there is just, again, so much impact in sharing your story, because a lot of times we think that our experience, that we're the only person on the planet going through this, right? And although your experiences are unique, but there are people that are going through similar situations. You know, it may not be, you know, again, a duplicate of yours, but there are, again, connections that can be made through other people and sharing theirs. And, you know, I have this quote that I made about, you know, owning your story versus allowing your story to own you. And I think that when we're in these group settings and we're sharing our story, it neutralizes the sensitization that sometimes we can have with our experiences, right? But also, like I said, hearing of other people sharing their stories, we're inspired by that. Like, dang, you did what? So, you know, I know if you overcame that, then let me take a look at how I can maneuver and navigate in my experience, right? So not to say that your hurt is more hurtful than mine, or my pain is deeper than your pain, but it's just kind of like, wow, I see the resilience and I see you as an individual, and how can I
I see you and I see myself in you, and you see yourself in me. And again, how can I bridge the gap in my personal life, but also create this sense of community? Yeah, because even in the boundaries group that I had last year, so many friendships were built from that. They're still, like, I have 2 clients that they're still friends. One of them is going to the other person's wedding this year. Yeah. So they extended it beyond, the group setting and built this lifelong friendship. So, and I think, as us folk, we need more of that community, you know what I mean? That wraparound support to get through this stuff. Because, we be trying to strap it all on our back and do it, on our own. But there are people, and I understand that there can be difficulties with finding those folks, right? So I'm not saying that, your tribe is going to arrive at your doorstep tomorrow, you know what I mean? Like, but there is a tribe out there for you. So, like I said, if not anything, group therapy is a big community. Yeah, and I love to see that transformation. That's actually one of the parts that I do miss about my old job, because I was able to do groups was in the rotation. That you was gonna do a group in your shift, okay? So I do miss seeing that impact on a regular basis. But there's a lot of healing and transformation that comes from it.
How important are the people around you for the work that you do?
Oh, I need them niggas. I need them, man, because I'm one of the strong friends, people come to me to, get that sounding ear, to get that support. But I love when my friends are like, hey, Unique, you good over there, friend?
Slow down, friend.
Right. Did you drink your water today, friend? Or, just whatever kind of check-in that it is. So they're so necessary to me because, sometimes I need that space too. You know what I mean? To be like, let me tell you what such and such did. I need a venting space as well. So they're necessary to me, and I'm, like I said, so grateful to have, really, as I look at it, like I said, from my church friends, from being with me from 9 years of age to, I'll be 37 this year.
It's a good age. It's a good age on you.
Yes. Listen, people think I'm in my 20s.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, first time I met you, I was like,
Yes. So I need them. And I wouldn't be who I am today if, like I said, if it wasn't for them, if it wasn't that support, if it wasn't that accountability, if it wasn't for their presence. So. Okay.
Where can the people find you?
Where can the people find me? They can find me on Instagram at _unique_perspective. I think there's another underscore there. 3 underscores for AUP. But that's where I primarily am. But yeah, we didn't chat about how this free content.
There's more interviews in the future.
He said, don't worry about it.
Yeah, a good combo.
We covered it all.
Combo. Yeah,
yes.
I'm not spinning the block. There's like other years to do this.
So much.
Yeah, I'm not worried.
Don't stress yourself.
Yeah, any new idea I have, you're going to be at the table. Okay. Literally, you're going to be at the table at some point. Yeah.
Yeah, but catch me on Instagram.
Okay. And what's one tidbit or piece of advice you would want someone to hear after this interview?
After this interview.
One important takeaway. Oh, man. Bet on yourself. That's the one that keeps resounding to me. Bet on yourself. We've talked a lot about my transition from being, UJ, inner city girl dealing with abandonment and all that stuff, to me today, being in private practice and being a better parent to my daughter. I still got some hills to climb too. But just bet on yourself, because you're so worth it. I want people to actualize what God created them to be.
right? So I'm walking in my superpower, and I want other people to, whatever that is, right, to walk in their superpower and to own it. So take a chance on yourself.
Yeah.
Yes. All of the things.
All right, this has been another episode of Mental Health Monday with Miss Unique Jordan. Peace.
We out.